Watering woes.
Oh, yes.
My watering woes. I've got the blues. And it's running rampant. Our customers, our listeners, and we've told you over and over, more at one time and less often. Okay, more at one time and less often. And like now we're going to tell you what to do when your plants have gone crispy.
Don't panic.
That's right. Exactly. One thing. So your plants shriveled up, and I don't care if it's an annual, a hanging basket, shrub, or anything.
My poinsettia. My poinsettia. Remember my poinsettia?
Your poinsettia.
Yeah, right.
Did you put it back outside?
Earlier in the season, I did,
and
it got a little crispy.
Yeah,
I pulled it back inside. Yeah. It's still
well,
growing.
At least it didn't get killed by frost. Is it coming back?
It is. It is. I'll show you some pictures later. Yeah.
All right. So don't lose hope.
Gotcha.
Okay. First of all, if it's shriveled up, you've got to determine, like we get this all the time. Here's my plant. It's shriveled up. You press the leaf. It's crispy like Rice Krispies. And you say, well, did you water it? And what's the reaction, Julio?
Yes, they watered it.
Every day.
Every day. Yep.
I watered it every day.
Yep.
Every day.
Every day.
Every single day. Mm-hmm. Every hour.
Make sure to drink.
I paid more attention to this than I did my husband. Anyway, but what the reality is, you have to determine if that's true. Did they overwater it? Because you get the same results from the leaves, whether it's overwater or underwater. There's sometimes you can see signs, but if it is crispy, okay, there's hope. If it is just like water-soaked, wilting leaves, and we're not talking about those cheaters out there that water it just before they leave home so that they can say that they watered it. Okay, we get that all the time. But the reality is that the oxygen that's around the roots of your plant, that's essential for plant life and for plants to live. If you overwater, that oxygen is gone, and that root is basically suffocated, and you don't have much of a shot to bring it back. But if it dried out, okay, there's a chance, because a lot of times a plant will just lose its leaves and dry up, because the leaf of a plant, and here in the studio we have this is one of the sun patient types of impatiens, and grows full sun. But it does the same thing all impatiens do, that if you don't water it enough, it just wilts down. It goes, all of a sudden it looks like it's heading south. But all plants have little pores basically in the leaf where it lets out the water that's in the roots. Now, if you're on YouTube, you can see me going up and down on the leaf, and that when there's no water, it's basically dried up so much that it no longer can do its job, and it just kind of said, all right, we're going in suspension. We're done. You're not going to give me water? I'll show you what I can do. And that they go crispy. Now, I suggest, if you have a crispy plant, is to cut it back 1/3. Okay, cut it back 1/3, and then resume watering it. The goal is to get new buds to form, and that there always seems to be secondary buds on your plants when you have underwatered. And that it eventually, that those buds begin to swell, and then it comes out and they produce leaves, and that it should be okay. So again, cut it back a little bit. Then you're going to want to, again, get those secondary leaf buds to form, and that it should resume. It takes a couple of weeks, so it's not going to be something
overnight.
And again, you want to have good watering practices. You want to, moist but not wet. You want to let it dry out a little bit on the surface so that it retains that oxygen around the root system. Now, one mistake that people do is that they'll go and they'll just like saturate it. there's no leaves for that moisture to alleviate itself. Yeah. So, because the leaves are gone. So again, water it on our traditional schedule that we talk about as far as letting the soil dry out a little bit between waterings. You don't want to flood it so that it doesn't ever dry out. So be cautious on what you do. You want to rehydrate the soil, but then you want to let it dry out, and then you want to rehydrate the soil again. So it's a pattern, okay? And it's really hard to reach that minimum, that balance. Wouldn't you say, Julio?
It is, but you learn after a while.
And that's what gardening is. A study was done, and they were talking to master gardeners, and that they asked them, "Would you consider yourself a master gardener?" To a T. They all said no.
No.
They all said no, because there's always something else to learn.
That's right.
There's always something else to learn. This works with annuals, shrubs, even trees, and certainly hanging baskets. When we give our children plants to customers, we're handing them off. It's like, okay, the care is now your responsibility, and that we want you to take care of them and grow them. It's up for you to now make them thrive. It's not something where it's like, oh, it's dead, I'll replace it. Just put it in the trash. Learn. A lot of times that it's not an automatic, like, let's just bring it back to the place where you bought it. I mean, Bloomers guarantees their trees and shrubs, their roses, but we do not guarantee annuals. They are subject to a lot of torture. Yeah. Same thing with perennials. Anything herbaceous that we do not guarantee. It's up to you to make sure that you make it thrive. And that some of these tricks, again, by cutting it back and then keeping it hydrated, is a way to get a second chance at that plant. So what else can you add, Julio?
I just think that, the learning process of how to take care of that plant when it's really, like you're saying, crispy,
right,
is essential to keeping it going. And you learn you learn how to take care of plants.
Right. And if it's crispy, it's not necessarily dead.
Yeah.
You scratch the branch, if it's a woody plant, to see if it's green, to see if there's moisture retained into the stems. Right. And that's another way. If that's dry and the branches are crispy and brittle, probably a good chance that it's dead. Yeah. But again, give it a shot. Yeah. Give it a, you'll be your side, dude. You'd be like, miracle worker. All of a sudden, the plants come back. It's like, look at that.
Look at that. Yeah, that's what I did.
And that you should be proud of yourself when you get that done.
You do, yeah. You do.
Because you can do it. You can do it. Don't give up. Don't give up. And that's the one thing about gardening. We just always want to keep going, and keep trying. Yeah. So again, crispy plants, cut it back, resume your watering cycle, but not to flood it the way that you would if it had leaves, because there's no way for that water to escape unless it has leaves. So you're going to want to just be very, very specific the way that you're watering and careful.